Alright, new patch, new characters, so you know what that means. It's time to see where they've landed on the tier list. We're here again at PrideWin.gg, taking a look at the Neverness to Everness tier list, specifically for the Beyond the Rails and the high-risk commissions. And of course, we're here mainly because of Shinku. We're going to be taking a look where she's landed on the tier list, the big changes to this tier list, as well as new placements, etc., how to build her synergies, her kit a little bit, her weapon, etc., the whole shebang-a-bang. First, let's take a look at where she's landed here. Hold on, I could have sworn she came out. What the heck? Oh my good. That's rough, dude. Oh, that's painful, dude. Oh, she's a brick. Oh my god, she's dead on arrival. But no, seriously, she's fine. Just because she's here at 0.5 is not like a bad thing, really, to be honest. Like if, for example, they didn't add these new tiers, like these 0.5 tiers, you'd probably see her still up here with these 0.5s because we have a little bit more space. They're trying to differentiate things a little bit more, and they feel like Shinku is here at 0.5, at least at the start of things. Just be aware that she has a watch list tag that's being put there, you know, because they did make some last minute tweaks when she released to global that they didn't have a chance to be able to look at. So she may be moving up again to tier 0.5, not again, but they might be moving her up here to tier 0.5. So just be aware of that. She might be moving up, especially if Irui arrives and has synergy with her. That could provide enough value to be able to bring her up alone, that in itself. And when I was testing Chaos and Shinku here, like in solo content, I did feel a noticeable difference. I did feel like Chaos was performing better, and the numbers were there. He was performing better. He was faster. Shinku was a little bit slower. Not necessarily a bad thing. Also, like, you have to factor in the fact that they are normally playing on a team. I did feel when on a team, still just a little bit faster with the Chaos team. It's a noticeable enough difference where I can sit here and be okay with this difference in this 0.5. I was expecting her, or hoping for her, I guess I should say, to be just a little bit better than she was, considering how heavily they were pushing her. It just kind of made sense, right? That she would be maybe the best landing DPS based off of the promo that she was getting. That's not always the case, and I'm not saying that we should have power creep or anything like that, but it is something that I think should be like pointed out in case you guys were interested in that, in case you guys were going to get skins going crazy on this character. They did, I think, kind of make some complaints on CN, and it looks like they did make some tweaks to her, as you can see here. PrideWin also let's see what PrideWin pointed out here. They made some tweaks on the Chinese server, right? However, the changes don't address how reliant she is on charge, needing the boss to remain targetable throughout all of her ultimate state, her ability severely ungrouping enemies, or the large downtime that occurs after her initial burst. For all those reasons, we're placing her in tier 0.5 with the watch list tag. Perhaps Irui will make her gameplay more consistent. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, she definitely isn't a bad character at all. You know, she may even move up once like they kind of take a look at her again and reassess things based on the tweaks that they made, you know, from the CN server that we did get on global. So we do have these. Also, when Irui comes out, she's probably going to be a tier 0 support. Before we get too deep into like her weapon, her build, etc., the nitty-gritty with her, I did want to go over just a couple of these placements here. Aurelia did get moved up to 1.5 when they added the 1.5 like slot here. We have, what's this guy, Skia, moving up here as well. We have Mint here in tier 0, which is a crime against humanity. How the heck is Blossom still so good? And when you don't have Nanali, but you do have Jing Yuan, who else are you using? You're using Mint. So, like, given that fact, why is she so low? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I think that, like, she's as worthy of a slot as good as Aurelia, in my opinion. I think you should just move her up one more slot. One more slot is fine. You know, we don't need to go crazy here. She is still an A-rank character with passives that they purposefully made bad just so that she doesn't be as good as an S-rank. But due to this fact, she can never be as good as one. But I think it's worthy of her being in 0.5, considering Blossom is still so good. And we don't have another Blossom character besides Nanali and Jing Yuan here for that synergy, like, to be that good. It really is Mint. Edgar here, being the only reason why we have tier 3 is funny and justified. No complaints with that. Let's quickly take a look at some pros and cons that are here. We only have one con, which is that some of her interrupts and resistances are locked behind her awakenings, which unfortunately like means you have to pull dupes. That is unfortunate, but I didn't feel like this was really a problem when playing the character, so honestly, if that's the only downside, that's really not that bad. I do feel like she is reliant on charge. I agree with Pride when they say that, so I don't know why they didn't include that in the cons, considering they included that in her, in the changelog as an important downside to her. Why wouldn't you put that here? Whatever. Anyways, let's look at the pros. Massive ultimate damage that serves as the main payoff of her entire kit, especially strong against bosses. Simple game plan, you build up her Defiant Spirit easily just by attacking, withholding basic attack, crit riposte, redirect skill, support skill, and all contributing toward that. We have strong team utility, charge enhancement, providing off-field energy sharing and frequent AoE triggers, while also stacking self-attack up to 10 times. Yeah, this is actually pretty darn good. Part of one of her passives. Buffs for owner selection with 3 tags focused on drinks. Oh, this is basically... This isn't damage worthy though. This is like quality of life feature kind of thing. All right, now let's talk about the weapon situation here, because I don't think this is necessarily like an issue, but it is very noteworthy to point out that her signature weapon is noticeably more powerful than the other options you have here. However, again, it's not a build problem. You have plenty of options here, including a time will come, this A rank option here that you can take easily to M5. It really isn't that far off from the second best option that she has. So don't feel like you have to go for the signature weapon. If you do, obviously it is a pretty big noteworthy jump. And if you don't have it, you have plenty of options, including Camellia Society, which is pretty easy to get, or a battle pass option. Let's go over them here. Now let's start with the signature. It gives you 20% attack, and after casting ultimate, increases the wearer's cosmos damage dealt by 32%, and allows the wearer to ignore 12% of defense for 20 seconds, and it resets the duration when triggered. It also gives 570 attack, and it also gives 24% crit rate, which is really, really huge. She gives herself a ton of crit damage in her own kit, so giving her a bunch of crit rate is really, really important, and this weapon helps her get there. It also gives her a bunch of damage during ult state, which is really, really good. Now let's go over the Battle Pass weapon here. Unfortunately, the Battle Pass weapon means you gotta actually spend real life money for it, but let's quickly go over it. Increases the wearer's crit damage by 4% for 10 seconds after landing a critical hit up to 10 stacks, and it resets the duration when triggered again. It also gives 512 attack, and even more attack in the form of 27.5%. So this is a pretty good, easy uptime to keep up, so you should be able to keep that up pretty easily. But again, not much better than Camellia Society here, which increases the crit damage by 12% for 5 seconds when the wearer's HP is reduced without taking damage up to 4 stacks. Oh yeah, this is Camellia Society. I don't know if everyone's going to want to use this. Just keep it in mind, because you do have to learn to use this effect here. Just to save time for the sake of the video, I'm not going to go over it super duper hardcore. You can take a look at this if you want. But this is something that you will have to do yourself in combat in order to activate, so just keep that in mind. And again, it is really almost the same as this A rank weapon here. It grants the wearer 10% attack, 10% defense, and 10% HP when the teammate has at least 3 different Esper types. And if you didn't hear earlier, Shinku wants to be on a charge team that is 3 different elemental types, so you should be good to go as long as you use her on a charge team. If you're not using her on a charge team with 3 different Esper types, then this is not an option for you, basically. Now let's take a look at the cartridge situation here, which the Lost Radiance Cosmos cartridge is the best one to use. I would recommend going for this one. However, the Street Boxer cartridge is actually really, really good, even though it's, meant for Lectronic characters, because of the crit value it gives you on this second effect here, which is going to work on most of the teams that you would have her on, as long as you're triggering Remora. So yeah, pretty good option if you're trying to min-max the amount of stamina you spend, and you can only go in one domain, and you don't want to split it up between 2 different domains. This is actually not a bad idea to just go for one of these domains if it kind of min-maxes your account, and you can basically form 2 characters at the same time that way. Just keep that in mind. All right, now let's go over some main stats and some substats. Now, we kind of went over this earlier. Crit rate is very, very important, so crit rate main stat, definitely go for that if you can. You really do need to go for a crit rate stat, in my opinion. Substats, I think you need to go for crit rate on literally everything, every single every single module piece you can, go for crit rate. It doesn't have to be that way. You could, because you're going to be going for it so hard, if you have your weapon too, for example, you don't necessarily have to have crit rate on every single piece, but definitely get like, try to get, as you can see here, above like 75%. I guess let's go over that here. Let's go over some like overall stats you can go for. You want to go for 20,000 plus HP, 2,000 plus attack, 75% plus crit rate, 150% plus crit damage, 15% plus universal damage, and 10% plus from the, this is going to come from the set bonus, or the, like, I guess the arc can give it to her too, but this actually can come from her gear bonus when you're using the Cosmos Lost Radiance effect. Let's take a look at the character synergies and the teams here. You have, of course, a bunch of different characters here that all try to help provide an element that gets you to a charge reaction. So you have Zero here, the literal best like sub DPS character you could pair with her, pretty much the best sub DPS Cosmos character in the game because of the Esper cycling that they're able to provide. You also have Jingyu Wan here, literally the best sub DPS anime character that you could be using. You also have Mint and Nanali as options as well in case you don't have Jingyu Wan. You have Chaos, you have Skia here. Hathor is a very good option as well to pair with her, like the best, I'd say, sub DPS for Lekshana effects. Then now let's take a look at the teams here. As you can see, the charge team, we have Shinku, we have Zero, you have Hathor, and you have Nanali. You could also be using Jingyu Wan or Mint as well. You can see other options here like Hattori instead of Zero, or Skia instead of Hathor. You have here Shinku dual DPS. You have Chaos and Shinku as the dual DPS on the team. This is actually kind of like a 3 DPS when you think about it in a way. Nanali sort of acts, I guess you could say, as an anima like sub DPS in this moment. You could use Jingyu Wan or Mint in that case as well. Hathor being a very good character to pair on this team is with Chaos to be able to provide that extra crit rate that she can provide. Now, obviously, these are team recommendations. You don't have to go with these teams. You can make substitutions as needed. But let's just go over these general ideas. They are both technically charged teams. Let's go over their strategy so that you kind of know what substitutions you may want to make in case you needed to make them. Shinku's charge team focuses on quickly getting charge set up and going into Shinku to maximize her damage during her ultimate state. We're aiming to get 5 enhanced skills and 3 dashes during each ult, and this team leads to that more consistently than most. The dual DPS team down here utilizes both Shinku and Chaos and aims to maximize their damage that occurs while Shinku is off-field and or outside of her ultimate state. So yeah, I might be a little bit goofy with the thumbnail just because she didn't land as a tier 0 like I think most people were expecting. That'll be fun, even though honestly, she's fine. That's the takeaway you should have from this video. She is a great character, a fun character. Every single character here basically is good. Even Mint can clear solo, bro. Okay? Listen, this is the lowest DPS they're ranking here, okay? I still think she needs to be in tier 0.5, but she can clear solo, okay? So, like, don't worry too much about this meta or, like, these placements you see here. Anything you see in tier 0.5 or even tier 1 or above are stellar characters you should be happy to have on your account. So, pull for who you like, necessarily not who you think is the best in the game. But obviously, these videos are still fun because you can make an educated decision based on what your needs are on your account. Anyways, let me know who you're pulling. Let me know if you're pulling for Shinku or Iroi or both, or if you're saving for anyone coming up. Let me know if you think it's funny that Chaos is arguably the best character in the entire game so far, and he's a gacha male. Gacha male, actually crazy good, rare. Oh my gosh, crazy. Anyways, see you guys in the next one. Peace.